My baby sister was born with permanently closed hands, like seashells. And none of us dared to admit that she may have been disabled instead. My mother tried to fix her, stuffing her hands with tissue, but she just couldn't open up. She cried herself to sleep every night. And we learned how to drown out her tears so that we could sleep. She died soon after. We should have known that somebody born with permanent fists would end up fighting for her life. Maybe God kept her hands closed so we could never see how short her lifeline was. She actually threw up and drowned in it. None of us woke up to save her, so in a sense, the only thing we got to teach her was how to drown herself so that we could sleep. I spent my childhood bathing, holding my head underwater, either trying to drown out my sorrows or just trying to relate. You say it's suicidal. I say blood is thicker than water torture. We spent the next 2 weeks with half of the house crying, the other half trying to wake up from this nightmare. But how could our tears wake us up from this nightmare? We learned to drown them out so that we could sleep. If only we had listened to her hands press those seashells against our ears, we may have heard the ocean that was coming for her. My family began to sink. We were all drowning, and there were never enough lifeboats in this Dead Sea. These waves of emotion gave us bodies of water, and tears only added insult to seasickness. Our tears only added insult to seasickness. Everyone but my mother cried. Even at the funeral, I watched her become her daughter's hands, filled with tissue, refusing to open up. We began to pile all her stuff away. It's not that we couldn't stand the sight of them, it's just that everything we touched made us cry, like we were the ones with no tomorrow. And my mother, she kept washing her clothes. Not that she was crazy enough to think that the baby would grow into them. She just knew that she was this close to rinsing out the smell of tear gas in them. I will tell you that years of questioning a God who doesn't respond anyway will lead a family to some very shallow places searching for answers. Like, how could God have a baby take her last breath before her first steps? What is God on a long walk home when you try to convince yourself to pray to the streetlights that seem to hang above like omens, always high enough for people to obey them? What if God is just a metaphor of if you hang something high enough, people will obey it? Does he ever take off his halo to scratch his head? What if God was just like us? You pray at night, don't you? What if he learned to drown out your tears so that he could sleep? What if he learned to do something for himself for once? We killed his son. Did he ever get to cry about it? What if my sister was just God's agent sent to earth to pick something up for him? What if, when she got to heaven, he opened up her hands, pulled out the tissue, and finally wiped his tears with them?